Welcome.
Thank you.
I know, it's so good to be up here with you again.
It is.
So, I don't know, is this yours? I don't
Oh, yeah, that's mine.
know. Well, then I'm putting it over on your side.
Thank you.
Okay.
I tend to take all the available space.
Oh, so, you
We're
wanna
supposed to
start us out?
remind them before we forget that that book is available in the bookstore.
Yes, this is the book that we're covering, and if this is your first time here in the last, I guess, was it last week we really started it. This is the Book of Joy, and it is back in 2015, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu came together in India and met to celebrate their birthdays. And they spent 5 days together with an audience for people to ask questions, designated people to ask questions, as well as just the two of them engaging with each other and laughing with each other. And I see why this is called the Book of Joy, because you just can't put it down, because it is such a roadmap to what we want to cover here. So we're going to be talking today, and I asked Sandy to share next week with me, because last week we talked about the introduction and we talked about day one, which was day one, and that was enough to cover. And today we're going to do 2 and 3, and then next week we'll do day 4 and 5. But this is really, feel free to take notes. Feel free to know that you can hear this again on Facebook, our Facebook page, as well as it's on a YouTube channel, usually by Tuesday or Wednesday. So there's always a way to hear this again, because this is nuggets of stuff. So they're for sale in the bookstore. We may not have somebody working in the bookstore yet, because we're still trying to get our teams back in order since we're back in person. But it's an honor system. I think they're $13.50, no tax, and just leave the money by the cash register. And just go ahead and get a book for yourself if you would like.
So the title is Obstacles to Joy, because that's the title of the second section. And in the first section, we kind of established that everyone can experience joy. And the Dalai Lama noted that in Buddhism, they really believe that joy is our natural state. So if it's our natural state, then in order to experience, we just need to remove the obstacles. And I'm going to start with a story that is, if you're keeping up with the book, it's actually in the section called Suffering and Adversity, and it was taken by the narrator, Douglas Abrams. And some of you might recognize it as being written by Alan Watts, except for I think it was written before Alan Watts, and Alan Watts rewrote it. It's called The Story of the Chinese Farmer. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer whose horse ran away. That evening, all of his neighbors came around to commiserate with him. They said, "We're so sorry to hear that your horse has run away. This is most unfortunate." The farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back, bringing 7 wild horses with it. And in the evening, everybody came back and said, "Oh, isn't that so lucky? What a great turn of events. Now you have 8 horses." The farmer said again, "Maybe." The following day, his son tried to break one of the horses, and while riding it, was thrown off and broke his leg. The neighbors came back and said, "Oh dear, that is too bad." The farmer responded, "Maybe." The next day, the conscription officer came around to enlist people into the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. Again, all the neighbors came around and said, "Isn't that great?" And again, the farmer said, "Maybe."
Why did you pick that, Sandy? Or do you want to be, I'm good, just, yeah, let me
Go
segue
ahead.
right now. The obstacles to joy, this particular section of the book of day 2 and 3. Just listen to these emotions that they state can be the obstacles to you experiencing joy.
If you want to go ahead and change that slide, thank you.
Thank you. There you go. Fear, stress, anxiety, frustration, anger, sadness, grief, despair, loneliness, envy, suffering, adversity, illness, fear of death, How many of those can you relate to? I can relate to every single one of them in my life that have blocked me from experiencing joy. So Sandy, you want to explain why you chose that story?
Yes, because the whole section it starts and then underlies with this idea of mental immunity. That the Dalai Lama completely believes that we can cultivate joy by establishing within our mind the right frame of mind or the right mindset. And so the Chinese farmer is an example of a mindset that's open and willing to experiencing whatever comes along without feeling all of that frustration and doubt, letting himself get stuck in that. He's like, maybe. He's staying open to it. And what are the possibilities for us if we could do that? Not just like, well, I know if I have an open mindset, when I get up in the morning and I'm well rested and I've had a good day and something happens, I can face that so much easier than if I had an awful night's sleep and I'm not taking care of myself. So if we take care of our mind like that and we can show up as the Chinese farmer in our lives, what's possible? What's possible for you if you could actually live it out all day long, every day? What's possible? Because the farmer and the neighbors, metaphysically speaking, are both you. We have those thoughts. The neighbors, we like to commiserate. Sometimes we
so
take joy.
Sorry,
So
Sandy.
sorry, so
Oh,
And we are also the farmer. We are both. And sometimes we are commiserating with the neighbors in our mind, those thoughts in our mind, so much that we drowned out the poor farmer. And the farmer is still there. Just like the love is always still there, the farmer, the wisdom is always still there. So I thought that's a great way to approach the theme of today, because all of these things listed here, we come to them so much better when we can have a better mindset around all of it, when we can take care of ourselves mentally and emotionally and spiritually and come to it with that. And so for me, I am traveling through this section trying to hear the farmer more than the neighbors.
yeah, think about this. Yeah, I see some people shaking their heads already about that. So you think about that where how do we get to that, right? What Sandy's saying and what the Dalai Lama, this part of this mental immunity is the Dalai Lama's statement in this chapter or in this section. And the Dalai Lama is saying that this is, it's like working out. You know, if you want a stronger heart, or let's say I have my own example. I have high cholesterol. So I've just been notified of that it's too high, Kathy, and you need to get on the medication. And of course, I look at the doctor and say, you know me, I don't want to get on the medication. I want you to give me 3 months. Give me 3 months to change this. So what do I have to do? I know what I have to do. I've got to be more conscious of my diet. I've got to exercise more. I've got to get my heart rate up more. So it's the same thing as what they're talking about mental immunity. It's you have to work at it. And we were talking over the weekend, you know, this is all a practice. It is a practice to be able to get through the obstacles of joy. And it's going through them. And it's not avoiding them. Okay? Now, this is where Archbishop Tutu comes in and says, and it's extremely important, he acknowledges what Dalai Lama is saying about mental immunity, but it's not a but, is it? It's
not
an
a but.
and.
It's an and both. It's an and both. So as the Dalai Lama says that we can change our states of mind, and he even says in there, I love this quote, I just have to pop it in there. It says, some people ask if what's the fastest way you can achieve this? And he says, you can have quickest or you can have best. But you cannot have both. The best solution to our suffering is mental immunity, but it takes time to develop. And not that long after that, the Archbishop says, basically, I think we've got to accept ourselves as we are, and then hope to grow in much the way the Dalai Lama is talking about. Not to take, and then he goes on to say that often guilt arises because we have those feelings. We are in unity. We are not supposed to feel that kind of anger.
Oh, that's right. We don't talk any negativity here.
We are not supposed to give time and energy to our negative emotions.
That's metaphysical malpractice.
So he's constantly bringing up not to belittle that guilt and shame when it comes up, to acknowledge it as part of our humanness, not to stay stuck in it, not to go wallow in it. And if we don't acknowledge that it's part of what makes us human and divine at the same time, we'll never get to that divine part because we're going to stay stuck in that human part. So it's the whole accepting those emotions as part of that humanness, as part of the miracle of who we are. And then later, the way that I see it, allowing those emotions to make our connections and our relationships deeper, make our joy deeper, use them to overcome our obstacles to joy.
That's good point here. I hope you caught that, what Sandy was saying, because sometimes she gets excited like I do, and that's why I love working together with her, because I get excited. You got two very excited, passionate women here about this subject, and we can get, right? And so she can slow it down and repeat what I'm saying. I'm going to slow something down and repeat what she said. We are divine and human. So human is right there. We have those feelings as well as we have joy and happiness and excitement and all the good things too. But sometimes, and that's why I went metaphysical malpractice, because we can get into this new thought, actually ancient thought way of thinking about the power of our mind has how we end up our day. And so therefore we think, I cannot speak any of those words. I cannot go down to Fellowship Hall and tell somebody that I am really angry. What? You must not be working your unity principles. No, it's okay. But like Sandy said, you can't go down there and wallow and going around to everybody telling them how angry you are or how sad you are, frustrated, and wallow in it. See, there's a difference in wallowing in it, which then you've let that emotion have power over you. That's the part that we teach.
And
Right?
instead, going back to that main focus on connecting and looking towards others, this morning I was a little frazzled trying to get things together on the media, and I stopped, and instead of thinking of me, I thought of Kathy and all the things that she ran around frazzled about this morning, trying to get to the point where she could put on eye makeup and put her on her shoes and get ready for the service. And I'm thinking, it's not just me. Other people are here showing up in love to serve, and we all get frazzled sometimes. It's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up about the fact that I'm a little frazzled, that I'm supposed to be doing something else and I'm doing something I didn't plan on. So instead of staying stuck in me and why do I have to do this, and oh my gosh, this shouldn't be happening, I'm thinking, we all just do this sometimes, and it made it so much lighter to think about it
I loved
that
your
way.
meditation, Sandy, because I have people telling me on an email or a text, so-and-so didn't call me back. I don't know what they're doing. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. And your meditation reminded me of how many other people just in our community here are dealing with people not answering their emails or not answering their phone calls. See, we think we're the only ones experiencing that, and that's when it gets into this impermanence and interdependence that they talk about in the book. Some of you may have heard those words before. You may have heard them in passing and think, I'm not really sure what that means. We're going to talk to you a little bit about that.
Are we doing that now?
I don't know. What should we do next? What do you want to do?
Well, I mean, I can touch on that. There's something else I want to go back to. But
Okay, then go back to it, and I'll catch up
the
with you.
impermanence for me is that I knew that that situation was going to be resolved one way or the other in just a couple minutes. It's not going to last forever. Knowing that things, this too shall pass, changed my life. I think that comes with wisdom and practice. Like as you get older, you just see, you can look back. That's just me. I guess if I could just see and look back, the older that I get, the more I realize how things really are impermanent, that this too shall pass. And that always helps. And the thing is, interdependence, our ability to connect to one another, which is what I feel that I always really need, and even when I think it's something else, is that connection that I'm looking for, the oneness, the lack of not separating myself, being back in connection with things, is because of the impermanence. So I feel separated, and the Buddhists said this in the book somewhere, that they believe that we feel a lack of interdependence because of the I'm going to say that wrong. If we go from the I, let's put it this way. I am connected in oneness, so is everything else, down to the atoms in your body are intermingling with the pew that you are sitting on, you just can't see them. We are so connected in ways that we will never see, we've just forgotten it, just like we do on a spiritual plane. So the Dalai Lama explains this, and Jinpa, his translator, explains that it's because of the impermanence that the interdependence happens. Like nothing can ever stop changing because every time we change, everything around us changes, including me. So
that's
if
what
something
impermanence means.
changes with you,
It's always changing.
it's going to change with me. That's just a mindset out towards oneness. And to me, that's when I reach out to somebody, trying to see it from their point of view, trying to see why they didn't call me back, why they might be cutting off from me. That's my way of reaching out and being interdependent and getting connected.
I went there because I want to make sure of the time.
Yeah.
I want you to take off on the main points, because I said, Sandy, this
Yeah,
talk and this section of the book is you, and it is what's going on for you in your life.
So for me, what's been happening, some of you know and some of you aren't aware. It's not because I've been trying to keep it a secret. It's just because it's just been the way it is. About 2 days before the end of my school year, I'm a teacher. About 2 days before the end of my school year in May, my youngest stepson had an accident and went into a coma. So that accident is alcohol related. He drank so much that he had this isn't a mistake, it's a 4.0 blood alcohol content, which I didn't know was possible, but I guess it happens more often than I realized because like no one else was shocked but me. And he suffered brain damage because when you have that much alcohol as a depressant stops breathing. So we're not sure how long he wasn't breathing, maybe up to 15 minutes, and he was resuscitated. And for 9 days, we really couldn't get him to respond very much at all. And I saw people come together in ways I didn't think was possible. And this thought occurred to me that he's going to be the miracle boy, and that's exactly what's happened. So today he's walking, he's talking, things that they told us he would never do. They said he'll never be off a respirator, he's too brain damaged, there's no way, he's not coming home. You need to be careful about your decisions because if you make the wrong one, he's just going to be stuck in a home on a ventilator for the rest of his life, and do you really want that? And that is a horrible place to be. When I met this little guy when he was 5, so he's been with me, and he's 30. And he has a 3-year-old and a girlfriend that he lives with, that is in a relationship, a partner. And then prayer, miracles, and they took the ventilator out, and he woke up and said, "What happened?" And since then, he's been discharged, and he's in a nursing home and waiting for acute therapy to start. And I'm much more by myself. So my husband is there all the time, all day. He gets there about 8 o'clock in the morning, and he gets home around 10:30 at night. And I'm at home taking care of my grandson who lives with us. And my thoughts from way before this in my marriage, when I very first married into a family, being really young, I was 21, I married a guy 12 years older with a full family. And something that had never occurred to me in years, that I'm an outsider. I'm not part of this. I'm missing out. Because they're all over there taking care of Matt, watching this miracle, and I'm home with my grandson, and I felt so disconnected that I started having horrible feelings like they don't want me there. They don't need me there.
Boy, how many of these feelings?
Oh my gosh, why did Matt put us in this situation? My husband and I were doing so well. Like, you name it, I've been through all of those. Lonely, that I'm by myself, envious of all the people that were there, and I could not be because I was, doing other things. And so it occurred to me that until I got past that, I'm a Unity person, why am I here? What is this about? It was killing me. Like, literally, I could not get past it until I reframed it. And I called a friend to do prayer and inquiry, which is what the book talks about. The next step, the first step is to identify humanness. So identify, I am a human having human emotions, and until I recognize that these things that I'm feeling are just part of me being human, that I don't have to go fix the situation, that I don't need to be Supermom in this situation, I don't need to be Unity Spiritual Wonder Woman and try to use all my spiritualization and Unity principles to fix it all, that I just need to feel human, that this is how it is. The reality is my husband is doing a lot to help Matt, and every day he comes home with these miracle stories. And I'm missing out because I'm not seeing the miracle that's happening with all of the people. My husband, oh my gosh, my husband, I thought he was cutting off from me. I was cutting off from him. So I decided I can reach out. I can send him dinner so he doesn't have to keep eating out, because they're constantly going to grab something really quick. And I was so resentful of it. They probably won't even like this dinner. I'm in the kitchen till 9 o'clock, but I'm gonna take this up anyway. And I was resentful the first time, all the way going in, handing him the dinner, and then driving home, because I had to go back home. And on the way home, it just occurred to me, you know what? I just made a connection, and that's what I wanted. They're happy. They're happy about the dinner. They texted me back and said that they're happy about the dinner. They texted me a few more things that had happened. And this is one way I can connect, even if it's small. Ian, my oldest stepson, is a miracle. He has been a heroin addict since he was 12. He is now 36. He has changed so much. He has so much purpose. He stays with Matt all night long to help him. And he missed his calling as a nurse. And I talked to him the other day, and I opened up to him and said, Ian, I see you in such a good place. You are such a sympathetic person. You have such a big heart. And when you get that big heart, what happens is you turn it in on yourself. You can't stand to see other people in pain. And you go use. And guess what? Look at what you're doing. Look at what you're doing for your brother. Look at how you're helping. And he felt so good about that. He's like, I hadn't thought about it that way. And he's like, yes. I said, do you see what you're capable of when you take that pain that you're feeling about being in such agony to see your brother this way, and you're going to help, and you're talking, and my husband and his oldest son, they are best friends now. They are in a closer relationship than they have ever been.
You would
since
not
I have known them.
expect this at all before this injury.
And I get to witness it. And I get to be the one on the phone playing cheerleader to everybody about how well they're going. My husband Dwight is so excited that he has this connection with Ian that he's never had before. That's the miracle I get to witness.
You know, there's a saying that the Dalai Lama says, a person is a person through other persons. A person is a person through other persons. Sandy, what I just heard you saying was you, by fixing dinner, became more of a person a more truer person of who you are. I mean, I'm just listening to this story, and it's that whole thing of interdependence. We were meant for connection. We are wired, hardwired for connection. And it is so important to connect with people, but not to connect with people with this facade of, oh, I'm fine. Sandy has been more real with me and with others than I've ever seen her in the 20-something years I've known you. Honestly, to watch her grow to this truth, I'm going to call it truth student, because when you can identify, oh, there's just so much. We knew this was going to happen. We kept saying, oh, there's so much about this. And I know it's times. Is there a thing that you would like to close with before I close with a story?
Just that this would not have been possible for me without going back to the whole mental muscles, the mental immunity. This was not possible at the beginning of my marriage. And that's why I had all the triggers from it, because it wasn't possible then. And then knowing that humanness, being able to realize the humanness and that I could still have those and not allow the triggers to affect me because of all of the mental muscle and spiritual muscle I've built. It just took the reminder of that and the acknowledgement of the humanness in order to put it into action. And it is hard to put it into action. And it feels so much better. As soon as I gave action, things just went. It just flowed. And so I really think that's the key, is first, and we had, I kind of came up with my little takeaway from the book about my experience while I'm reading the book and having this personal experience at the same time. And I can attach this to the YouTube when I make it so that it's on there, because I didn't type it anywhere, is first, we accept the circumstance. Second, we accept our humanness in the circumstance. So first we have to accept it's just the reality from afar. It's just the reality. And I'm human in it. I'm going to have human emotions in it. Then shift my focus from my experience to someone else in that experience with me, so that I'm not so stuck in the woe is me. And that can be really hard because we're thinking self-preservation. And that's what I did, just a little thing like taking dinner, just one little thing. Then that allowed me to shift to compassion for everyone else in my same situation worldwide. And I didn't feel so small. That makes me part of the oneness of it all. And sending that out, continuing to act and send that out. That is the message that I deduced from reading these pages of the book when I tried to summarize it all.
Definitely. I mean, the whole book is all about getting off of self and serving others, but doing it in a healthy way, not a codependent way. I can't say that enough, because we can tend to go serve everybody, and then we forget about serving ourselves. Sandy served herself this week. It's that she called a friend who knows how to do the Byron Katie the work and the judge your neighbor sheet, if you're familiar with any of that. And this person on the phone worked with her on doing a judge your neighbor sheet. Yeah, you can do them on paper. You can print them off online and fill them in. But there is nothing better than doing it with another person back and forth. And that was like turned on a light bulb for her to take her off of self.
It's like the meditation that we went through. I had that transformation where I could take in that negative emotion and then be allowed to say it out loud instead of just having it on paper, feel it. That person on the other end wasn't saying anything, but just giving me time and space to say what I needed to say, to feel those emotions in my body, to feel them transform, and then to let me go on with my day from that space of love instead of constriction.
That's a good friend. I can look at a friend out there right now and say, see, anytime I want to call her, and I can just spew it, and she just lets me spew it, and then she loves me just the same as no matter what. And so I want to reiterate this to you, that this is not just about the Dalai Lama, and this is not just about Desmond Tutu, who is the Archbishop of a Christian Anglican Church. So we are not taking Christianity out. We are in, it's both and in this book. And that's what I love. And I also listen to this and I'm like, this is what Jesus was telling us throughout the whole Bible, was serving your fellow man and woman and taking yourself off of self. Do as I do. There's a saying in Isaiah 43:19. It says, see, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wastelands. So as we make changes and work and observe these obstacles that come up, and we make changes to get through them, acknowledge them, get through them, and get to the other side of joy. That is what Isaiah is saying here. So I'm going to close with a story. It says, two friends were walking through the desert. During some point of the journey, they had an argument, and one friend slapped the other one in the face. The one who got slapped was hurt. But without saying anything, he wrote in the sand, today my best friend slapped me in the face. So they kept walking until they found an oasis, and they decided both to take a bath. The one who had been slapped got stuck in the mire and started drowning, but his friend saved him. After he recovered the near drowning, he wrote on a stone, today my best friend saved my life. The friend who had slapped and saved his best friend asked him, after I hurt you, you wrote in the sand, and now you write on a stone. Why? The friend replied, when someone hurts us, we should write it down in sand, where the winds of forgiveness can erase it away. But when someone does something good for us, we must engrave it in stone, where no wind can ever erase it. I think about how many people, Sandy, engraved it in stone this week of what you did and what you've engraved on your own heart in stone. All the other things leading up to that are in the sand. And I'm so proud of you. So we're going to go ahead with our affirmation for the week that Sandy wrote. So if we can get it on the screens here, Sandy, would you like to lead it? And let's say it together at least 2 times. Let's do it two times.
I release pain and claim peace. Forgiveness frees me to laugh, love, and embrace a life of joy. Whew. One more time. I release pain and claim peace. Forgiveness frees me to laugh, love, and embrace a life of joy.
And with that, we both say namaste.
Namaste.
That the Christ in us, that Christ presence, truly sees and honors the Christ presence in each and every one of you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.